So in terms of the top one or two challenges you encounter along the way when working with your clients, what would those be and how do you deal with those challenges to help your clients?
So as accountants, naturally, or maybe it's just me, we really like granular data and being able to analyze that granular data. What we find is, particularly in the SME space, is that you won't always have data in a way at the beginning of an engagement anyway, in a way that is granular enough for it. So, a really basic example of that might be having limited revenue line items rather than having revenue line items split in a way that provides strategic insights for it. So the way in which we're able to overcome that or progress through that is by going higher level. So in that example, looking at total revenue and how total revenue is trending going through for it. So data is obviously a key challenge, but also of the view that although unless the data is horrendously bad, which is not often the case for it, there's always insights to be had from data for it. And I guess the second key approach or the second key challenge is getting info from clients for it. And one of the ways that we overcome that is by having limited information come through from clients. So often access to a Xero file is enough for us to be able to get a number of insights and then have discussions with clients. And I guess the other key ways that we get over having high level data and also being able to get info from clients is by really having that collaborative approach with clients. So in all our engagements, there's a lot of collaboration with our clients. And I guess it is possible to be given access to an accounting file, put the data through Fathom, produce a nice report and send it to them as a PDF. But we always sit down with our clients and talk through the report, talk through our findings, and if need be, talk through where there might be limitations. So for example, unable to get a particular split on revenue because we're not currently recording that split through Xero as an example coming forward. So by having that real collaborative approach with clients, we find that we're able to get a number of insights and also talk through clients where there might be some data gaps that we would like to address in times to come.
So that's interesting. That higher level, firstly, that higher level analysis allows you to address some of those data challenges that you might experience. You still get to have those great insights and have meaningful, impactful conversations. Then you can maybe open up your clients to understanding and learning a bit more about their business, obviously stage one, and over time, get them a bit more interested in developing their data accuracy and completeness, because then they're going to obviously get better insights from you. And then secondly, that collaborative, consultative, guiding and mentoring approach to helping the clients. Yes, you could just send something, but actually let's sit down with them and just speak face to face, help them have more, I guess, impactful and tangible results by having that two-way conversation where they're really, I guess, forming a relationship with you, and then presenting and explaining the data gaps, I guess. Could be a full loop. So it's all about the communication. Cool. So one key learning you've gained from doing these client health checks, I think you said something we wrote down once. It was really hit home. Ask you to say it again in this webinar.
Yeah, sure. So I think we have a quote here. Yeah. So look, most businesses are only one or two impactful decisions away from improving their lifestyle, stress levels, and bank balance. And I feel that it's our skills as an accountant combined with Fathom to make it obvious what those decisions should be. So at first, although this might sound a little bit illogical in the sense of a business is a living organism with 101 different things that can and should go right or wrong for it. As we dig deeper into it, it does make logical sense that there's only one or two key things that will significantly shift the needle for that business. And I suppose in thinking through this, if a business had a number of different things that were going really, really badly for it, then it quite simply wouldn't exist. So if we had a business that was declining in revenue year on year, expenses were growing year on year. Customers were taking longer every day to pay, and the owner was drawing enormous amounts of money out of the business, where it quite simply wouldn't exist. And what we've found in our work with our advisory clients is that often a number of things are really, really good. We have clients that are growing their revenue year on year. Their debtor days with their clients are really good. All their clients love their work and pay them in a timely manner. But there's a particular expense which has grown, and it's been a margin that's been hard to hold. And by being able to show the client that if we can just fix this one little thing, not always a little thing, and sometimes easier said than done, but if we can focus on this particular area of the business, then it will have this particular improvement in terms of bank balance, which can have the flow-on effect to improving lifestyle and stress levels. And an example that comes to mind is that we had a client that had declining gross profit margins due to a particular direct cost. And by showing them what that was, they were able to work together with them to improve their gross profit margins, which then in turn improved the overall profitability of their organization, which then in turn improved their overall cash position, which in turn allowed them to pay off debt in a much, much quicker way, which in turn, as they said to us a number of times, has reduced their stress levels, because they now have a plan and have seen their debt being reduced through this. So often we find there's only one or two things that can have a really impactful decision and a flow-on effect for that business coming through.
Yeah. A very limited number of things can have a massive effect on a business, and probably when you get through the one or two, it might be growth related. There's another thing that crops up. There probably is always going to be one additional thing over time as the business changes, but being able to focus on that and identify it and explain that to the client, and then actually help them understand what they need to do to change that. It's, unlocking the business performance optimization, the profit and the cash flow makes a huge difference. Often it can be as simple as focusing on the gross profit margin, in terms of the pricing or the product mix or anything, but it's all there when you start looking at the numbers and the way that the business is operating. And then, sorting out that one thing, facilitating multiple other positive avenues to be pursued. So yeah, with your expertise as the accountant and the product that allows you, I guess, to find these things as well and then communicate the story, then the world opens up for the client. So yeah. And as you said to me, oh, sorry, go for it.
No, I was just going to say, and equally to that, sometimes it's not just a decision, but an impactful decision as well. So, an example that comes to mind is if revenue is growing year on year and everything's really good with revenue, then the decision to increase revenue is maybe not the most impactful decision for it. And because rather it's that margins are being eroded or the debtor days are blowing out. So it's not just about the decisions, but which decision is going to have the most impact on that business coming through. And I think that's one of our key jobs as an accountant is to help business owners and directors understand what's the most impactful decision they can make, not just what decision they can make.
A priority.
Yeah.
Which order to work through them. Yeah, and I think you've said to me before, there's a huge benefit to being unemotional about a business. So I guess business owners mainly are very emotional. But yeah, tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, so often at times you feel a little bit at a disadvantage because you're not day in, day out in the business and you don't have the intimate understanding of what goes on every minute of the day in the business. But I think the weakness is also the strength in the advisory relationship for it. So because we're not involved in the day-to-day business, because we're not sitting in on team meetings every day and on the ground, making the products that the business makes as such, for it, we're really able to see the forest from the trees and be unemotional in providing the numbers. And the numbers are a little bit black and white sometimes for it. It's if your revenue is declining every month, there might be a number of stories for it, but at the end of the day, revenue is declining every month, or vice versa for it coming through. So really being able to be unemotional and provide the facts as they stand is I think a key strength of the advisory relationship. And a good example of that is we have a client that was meeting all their revenue targets, meeting all their profit targets, but there was a small part of the business that was underperforming and not meeting expectations, and the numbers just clearly showed that this small part of the business was not meeting the expectations that they had for that. In the reports, that's what was being shown for it. And I suppose we were able to very easily show that to the client and show the impact of that small part of the business not meeting its objectives. But I guess the longer story is that it was a key part of one of the directors. It was a division that they had a lot of emotional involvement in, and it was their little baby that they had set up a number of years ago. So being able to stand back and see the numbers for what they are, not have that emotional involvement in a particular division or a particular product, I think is a key strength in the advisory client relationship.